You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast, a podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. I am your host Giri. I'm joined today by my regular co-host Ajit. Hello Ajit, how are you doing?
Hi Giri, I'm doing good. How about you?
Well, I'm also doing good, I guess, but you know how it is these days, right? So self-isolation.
Well, it's not a bad thing. How's the corona mania in your part of the world?
Well, it's not such a big world that we live in anyway, as
Indeed.
you see, because it's spreading right so quickly everywhere.
Mm.
The world is getting smaller for the virus, I guess. Jokes apart, yeah, the numbers are growing every single day. So we've all been asked by our respective governments. I think in major European countries, they've decided to shut down schools. Still ongoing. So even more people have been advised to stay away from social gatherings. In fact, not indulge in such group activities. Work from home. More Skype calls or video conferencing and that kind of stuff, and VPN servers crashing everywhere, especially in the company where I work. So too many people, trying to connect all at the same time. Remains to be seen in the long run. It will continue for I think 2 or 3 weeks, right? And we still don't know where we are heading. Between our previous episode and today, there was an address by the Prime Minister of the Netherlands announcing these measures and also asking people to be resilient and help each other in this time of need. And I think people, especially in the front line, emergency services sector, I think they're doing a great job. Yeah, right. So we have to, we have to commend them for their efforts in trying to keep this country going, even though everything else has begun to shut down. So how is it going for you?
Well, mostly staying at home and getting up the nose of my roommates, I think. But yeah, I don't know how they put up with me, right? So I keep mentioning it. If I get through this period without, one of us suffering something terminal, me or my roommates, I think
Yeah.
we've done well. So yeah, it's been a bit tough a couple of days, just staying inside the house. I hate that. But and also I miss all my other things, socializing with friends, meeting them, maybe going out for a coffee, having a lunch or a dinner outside. These things I miss quite a lot. But I understand what's the situation, and people need to be a bit careful given the situation. And well, they're going for a herd immunity here in the Netherlands. They're targeting a herd immunity until some sort of a vaccine can be identified. So it's sort of a technical question for a cricket podcast, I'm sure. But do you think this is going to work, Giri?
I don't know. I don't know. You're not asking a virologist here, so I have no bloody idea what that means. The only thing I know is a lot of people should get infected and they will form some form of a wall, a protective wall for the more vulnerable people. I think this is what I understood in
This is
layman.
precisely that.
Yeah.
So that basically means 60% of the population should have gotten and survived the virus.
Yeah.
That's where herd immunity possibility actually starts. So it's a longer discussion, I guess. But yeah, supermarkets are not particularly empty. Some shelves are. Certain shelves are unexpectedly empty. But I still don't know why people stockpile toilet paper and hand wash liquid, hand
Yeah.
sanitizers. But God bless them. I'm sure they have some use for it, right? So I have a finite number of toilet paper rolls with 3 people in the house. I've made an estimate of some sort, and I think we're good for 2 months, right?
So you basically allowed the amount of toilet paper you can use for a
Something.
given person in a single day. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it's come to that yet. I think we'll get through, yeah, with or without the toilet paper issue. But look, apart from all the jokes, I think we are being very stoic. We see a very stoic face. I heard the first time since 1973 that the Prime Minister of our country, or Netherlands, has actually come out and addressed the people, right,
Yeah.
regarding a crisis. So that was good to hear that they are actually taking it very, very seriously, and we really hope this has peaked, and we'll be slowly on the other side, and it's going to pass by maybe a fortnight, if not 20 days. We really hope that it goes away. So
Yeah. Well, I think it is taking a toll on normal day-to-day life, right? So
oh
so
yeah.
many events have been postponed or cancelled indefinitely, right? So we hear a lot of things right? I think one of the major announcements that was made a couple of days ago in the sports arena was that the European Football Championships that happens every 4 years,
Right.
which was scheduled to be played this summer, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
has been postponed to 2021, so next year, I heard. So it's a big announcement, if you ask me. So it's people are taking it really seriously.
Oh,
If
most
there was any
definitely.
doubt, if there was ever any doubt,
Mm-hmm.
and we have also so many cricketing events which have been suspended.
Speaking of, cricketing postponements, let's get into the other news because that's the only news we have today, right? There's no cricketing news to discuss.
Yeah,
So, PSL playoffs and the final has been postponed, right? So,
yeah,
or not playoffs, I must call them the semifinals. So, first of all, PSL, which had a 4 match playoffs, reduced it to like 2 semifinals to be played on one day and the final on the next day, right? But even that has been postponed. We don't know when and if they'll be playing those. So also one player who was playing in PSL was potentially suspected of having coronavirus.
hmm
It looks like it might be Alex Hales, so it's not confirmed. He seems to have exhibited a few symptoms, or he has confirmed to having some of the symptoms of coronavirus. So we really don't know if that also means he's been infected, and so he left Pakistan early. We know that. So that's one of the reasons why they had to take this decision as well, right? So in other news, we see that indeed, right? So Saurav Ganguly, the BCCI president, has indicated that IPL could be truncated if at all it will be held this year. There were some meetings between the team owners and BCCI, the office bearers of the IPL committee, and so on. They seem to have come to a consensus that it makes sense that maybe holding it is not the best of things to do, given how
yeah,
things are shaping up, right? I don't know if you read, some owners are a bit angry, some owners are a bit pensive, some they're sort of accepting the decision but not entirely happy, it looks like, but they all still echo the
yeah.
sentiment, right?
Yeah, I think they've put a lot of money into this. So it's a money-making business, this IPL, and
Mm-hmm.
it's their chance to make money in 6, 7 weeks every year,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this should not happen, in my opinion. It should be postponed indefinitely. They shouldn't even try to give a message that it will be truncated.
Mm-hmm.
You just heard me say about talk about this European Football Championships, which has been postponed
Right,
until 2021, right? So that only usually happens during the summer holidays. So in the
mm,
month of June, July, August,
right,
typically. I
right,
mean,
right.
the European countries are looking so far ahead, and then they are thinking that they won't be ready to hold that such a big event.
Mm-hmm.
And IPL, I know there is a lot of money, like I said, but this should be either cancelled or postponed, maybe to sometime during the Christmas break when everything else has settled down.
Mm.
Well, if they're so desperate, why not play book cricket like we used to when we were kids?
Hey, that's a good suggestion, man. So I'm not sure the audience will be very excited, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to settle IPL, that's one way of settling it, right?
Mm,
Settling tournaments. I don't know
mm,
if you saw a cheeky tweet by Shahid Afridi.
mm-hmm,
I think he plays for the Multan Sultans this
mm,
year, and he
mm,
said, so it looks like the rest of PSL might get cancelled, but why not give the trophy to the leading team or the team that
exactly.
finished
Yeah.
on top of the
Mm,
league standings, which was Multan Sultans, right? So look, some countries have actually decided that's a good way of deciding the tournament. For example, the finals of the Sheffield Shield was cancelled. Because only the final was remaining and New South Wales was so far ahead that they came to a common consensus that New South Wales would be awarded the tournament, and they did that. I like that. I like that sort of decisiveness in the way these things are settled. Right? That's a good thing for sure.
mhm.
But you're also saying, apart from book cricket, is there any other way? Do you think they could play it indoors with no spectators and still keeping some sort of a competitive indoor cricket for IPL? Do you think that's a good idea, Giri?
Indoors, I don't know if that's even a good idea. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I
Hmm.
can't speculate on this, but they shouldn't play any form of cricket. They just need to take a break. I know it's not good for athletes and players. It's also a lot of discussions and complaints being made by athletes who would participate in Tokyo Olympics later this year.
Ah,
And
right.
that Olympics also has a very good chance of being either postponed or,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe suspended indefinitely. I don't know, because Japan still has some infections, right? So if everything will be fine by then, I'm not too sure. So But the main thing is the athletes need to prepare. They need to condition themselves. They need to prepare mentally as well as physically before the Olympics. And now that everything is up in the air, they can't make up their minds. So this is also hurting their preparation. So I understand the frustration part. Everybody is frustrated. So are we, even though we have desk jobs. But we have to. Yeah, if you consider two different things, one is money and then health. I think health always should take precedence, and they should just call it off. Just send out a clear message saying, we will hold it some other time. Just don't make an announcement saying it might be truncated or they're going to view it on a week by week basis. It's not
Yeah,
going to disappear so quickly. So I think they should simply make a decision and then spell it out.
makes sense. Now, I think they're trying to hedge their bets, keep the, let's say at least when it comes to IPL, I mean, they're trying to hedge their bets, trying to make sure the investors are happy as well as the team owners and fans are sort of still kept on the tenterhooks as to when the tournament could be played. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the way this disease has developed and spread across the world, we don't see it abating at least for 3 to 4 weeks, if not more, right? So that brings a real logistical issue into question. And I think I also agree with you when you say Summer Olympics itself is under threat, even though summer is very far away, right? I mean,
Yeah.
July is very far away, but that doesn't mean anything. So given these conditions, it makes sense that even as high profile a tournament as IPL, if they take the decision to cancel it, it would be a very prudent one.
How much is it worth, IPL, in general, every year in dollars?
Maybe a billion, I don't know. I'm just making a
Maybe.
guess, really.
Yeah. Compare that with the airline industry, for example, right now. How they are suffering. I just heard KLM, one of the national carriers in the Netherlands, who have a long-standing partnership with Air France. I heard that they're probably going to stop 90% of their fleet, or they're just going to ground them, right? So they are suffering huge losses. And if you compare that with IPL, it's absolutely nothing. It's peanuts,
Indeed.
right? And they are actually sending people home because people are not traveling on one hand. On the other hand, they also don't want their own employees to get infected. So
Of course, of course.
you have to think about that first.
Indeed. Well, I mean, speaking of employees, I don't know if you saw the buses here. I was told have a new way of protecting the drivers, right? So they have come up with some unique ways. So all that can be done, but wherever there is hospitality involved, where people walk close to each other, the air crew, for example, the people who serve you drinks and other things, it's not that easy, right?
Yeah,
When you
absolutely.
look at all that, indeed, their safety, also the ground crew who prep the aircraft, all of these, they have to take those into account for sure.
Yeah. Well,
So.
we're not talking about cricketers and the safety of cricketers. We are actually talking about the people who actually make this event happen. All the organizers, all the support staff, all the people who come out there and
Right.
watch a match, right? So these people are more vulnerable. The cricketers will always be in a five-star facility somewhere, away from the public eye, doing their own chores. But it's the normal people who will get affected, and then that can bring a country down. So it can stop a country from functioning like it is doing now. It's going to be a debilitating situation if they don't take action. This is, yeah, in my opinion, I'm being a bit more forthright about this, but I just feel that they have to make an announcement, just call it off.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I think you have a very valid point of view there. And sports can only exist. Sport is a way of celebrating life and way of identifying champions among us, right? But that is only possible when there is life. So, sort of having life and livelihood takes precedence, I'm sure. So, yeah, I think they will come to the most obvious decision, the most common sense based decision, I'm sure, right?
Along with Mahendra Singh Dhoni's career and his
Oh yeah.
retirement. Yes.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's a very relevant point you brought up, right? Let's just get into it a little bit, right? So if IPL were to be cancelled,
Yeah.
I think a couple of questions about the Indian cricket team would still remain unsettled. I mean, I'm hoping that the World T20 will go ahead in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, so I think the keeping slot was not entirely decided. They tried out. I'm only talking T20s here, right? Not the ODIs or the tests. So a couple of slots they were still having a few doubts. KL Rahul's role, whether will just bat in the middle order, right? Also, whether Mahendra Singh Dhoni can come back. Also, what will be Rishabh Pant's role? Whether he'll just be a part of the squad, whether he'll even make a squad. So that's one conundrum, right? The wicket keeping conundrum. So that's an interesting point to discuss in today's episode, I think. So what do you think? If, let's say, as things stand, let's just assume this is going to end like this and there will be no IPL. So what do you think? How do you think it should go? Who should be India's first choice keeper and who should be in the squad, Giri?
First choice keeper, that's a good question. What I can say is Mahendra Singh Dhoni should not be part of this T20 squad. Not the playing squad anyway. Maybe he can be one of the support staff if he wants to, or if they want him to be there to share his experience and knowledge. But I'm not sure if the T20 World Cup will go on. It's still in October, right? But yeah, about the first choice keeper, so they trialed Rahul. They have Rishabh Pant. Who else did they have? They also had Sanju Samson. Sanju Samson was a failure with the bat. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he did well enough. So Rishabh Pant is still there on the fringes. Sanju Samson is probably behind him at the moment. But ahead of them all, I think KL Rahul. Because T20, it doesn't need a lot of stamina. So you don't have to keep for 50 overs or 90 overs in a day. It's just 20 overs. And KL Rahul, doesn't need to bend his back too much. He's good enough, just like our own Rahul Dravid back then in the 2003 World Cup, right? So that's when he was keeping.
Right.
So I think that could be a potential option. And I would go for that. I don't know if there is any other keeper apart from these two.
That's right. So somebody like probably Dinesh Karthik falls out of the reckoning, I guess.
I don't think he's ever going to make it back to the Indian squad. He's on the wrong side of 35.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think Dhoni, as you say, has probably walked into the sunset for good, right?
Yeah. A sad way to finish, because I would have, knowing the champion player that he is and the way he announced his retirement from Test cricket in 2014, out of the blue, nobody expected. So I was expecting something similar. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but yeah, it's his life, it's his career. So he gets to decide, of course, because he's won us 2 World Cups.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, when I remember the finals of the the T20 trophy that's held by BCCI, not IPL, but the standard T20 competition that they hold every year, right? So Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. So in this case, I remember the finals between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and KL Rahul was keeping. I was actually quite impressed with his temperament as a keeper as well, right? In the final, it was a very tense final, which Karnataka managed to defend by 1 run or something. They managed to win by 1 run in the final. So I was actually impressed with his nous and let's say his presence behind the stumps. So yeah, I would say I can agree with you there. So I think he starts as the starting keeper, but Rishabh Pant would definitely be in the squad, and that's about it, right? You probably don't need another keeper. If anything, if they want to give Sanju Samson a chance, he can probably go be the backup batsman, as well as he gives the additional option of being a keeper. But I would say his place either can go to another batsman, a more deserving middle order batsman, or we'll see how, maybe to an all rounder, depending on how India played. So I would say that I totally think that's the setup. So I agree with you there. But yeah, it may come to it that they may have to go for KL Rahul because of his versatility to begin with. So this is something I totally agree with as well. So now that was an interesting point. Yeah. So if you look at the European Cricket League, which was postponed from 2019 to 2020, if you remember, because they did not have enough time to organize all the things for the tournament to go ahead in 2019. We just read that even it's doubtful that it will be held in 2020. So this year it was supposed to be held in Spain, right? So La Manga club in Spain. But unfortunately, it looks very unlikely. We just have heard an announcement that this might be postponed to 2021. In fact, this is a 10-over format, by the way. This is not a 20-over format, Giri. So it's one of those the T10 cricket tournaments. So it looks like it will be postponed to the coming year. So that's unfortunate. But I think, again, given the number of cases of corona that Spain has faced in the recent times, it might not be that easy that it makes sense that they be allowed to, recover from it. It might not be enough. This was supposed to begin in May, and it's going to be or end of May, last day of May. So it's still too early, I would say. So that makes sense. When you think about all of these things, I would like to spend a couple of minutes maybe quickly going through. We've not discussed too much about it, the 100, Giri.
Do you want to talk about it?
Nah, we have some time today, so why not? So, the 100. Have you heard any nice things or any interesting news about it? What is your opinion about the 100, Giri?
I told you my opinion about it already. We don't need it.
We don't need
That
it.
is my opinion. We don't need it. We already have T20.
Mm,
Why do you need another shortened version of the game, which might attract more kids or younger generation, whatever? That's my opinion. But I haven't seen it happen. I haven't
mm,
been able to watch or follow a match that has happened. So I can't say for sure. But this would have, I mean, it would have been a nice opportunity to
mhm.
witness one this year. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Uh-huh.
The English summer could be delayed, right? So we could have a delayed start in England. So I'm not sure. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you like it? Are you looking forward to it?
Look, more than looking forward to it, I'm being practical, right? So I am thinking, yeah, for me it makes sense that it's not a harm to try out a new version of cricket. I remember ECB was the cricketing board that actually trialed out T20s in a big way, and
Hmm.
look at where we are today, right? So I wouldn't write off any TV series without, sorry, any cricket series without actually.
Well, that's what it's going to be. Another
Yeah, yeah,
TV
yeah.
series, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was a Freudian slip, I'm sure. But I would not write off any cricketing series without once trialing it. They've also trialed the T10, right?
Mhm.
Look, I mean, let's be frank. There have been test matches that have gone on for like 10 days in the 1930s when people had more time in their lives, let's say. They have played test matches, a 5-day test match which used to last 6 days because there used to be a break, a day break between the third and the fourth day, right? So from that, we have come down to 5 consecutive days of cricket, and we are now seriously discussing 4 days of cricket, right, as a test game. So, looking at how the trend of cricket being played is evolving over time, it has to be said that this is. I mean, there are purists, there are people like us who love cricket and who want to, enjoy it for what it is, right? The intense tussle of will and stamina, but that being said, you have to still accept if you want to attract newer people. I've had a very tough time trying to explain it to my colleagues that you would lose 7 hours of play and on a Sunday, and they're like, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you stay back with your family?" So it's a new way of attracting people. So it's I won't completely write it off. So maybe T10 is another way, but T10 is very close to street cricket. It's very much hit and giggle, I think. But that's what everybody thought about T20 as well, right? So let's see how it goes. So my personal opinion is to wait and watch, and let's see how it develops. Because uh, I really don't wish for a day where there is no Test cricket, right?
Mhm.
But I really hope Test cricket gets a new lease of life. When T20 came, we saw Test cricket got a new lease of life because of advent of T20s, people are able to play these additional newer kind of shots. That meant their repertoire of playing shots has increased. That means Test matches are more result oriented these days. I would like to credit T20s for that. I mean, T20s having an effect on ODIs and then having the same effect on tests is what I would like to say. That's why tests are so much more result oriented these days. So when there is such a positive that is right in front of my eyes, I'm going to wait and watch. 100 has its own quirks, right? 100 balls, consecutive overs can be bowled by the same bowler. 10 balls, yeah, there are 5 balls each over. There are enough confusing things there. I don't want to go into the technicalities of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why they had to ditch. This is not a very bad approach, but I don't know why they had to ditch a certain way of doing things. That came out as a bit weird for me, but I understand where they're coming from. Look, have you ever understood the concept of playing 11 people in a game? I haven't. 10 seems to be a much rounder number, right? 100 seems to be a much rounder number than 120, right?
You know what? Do you remember that detective series, Adrian Monk?
Monk, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he always liked multiples of 10,
right.
and he would have loved this, the concept of 100. That,
You
yeah.
can have him guest star, maybe make a appearance and maybe umpire in a game or something. I don't know. He was OCD, right? He would have loved
Yeah,
it,
yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
But I think coming back to 100 or T20, the skills of a bowler cannot be explored a bit more. It's too much stacked in favor of the batsman. I have a feeling that 100 could also be, in favor of the batsman. That's what it might be. And like you said, in Test cricket, we get to see both sides, right? So batting as well as bowling, and then you get to see real skills being tested and how good you are and how good your mental strength is. Not just the physical hitting power or being able to bowl some slower deliveries or cutters, right? So it's a bit more than that. So
we are having less and less time these days for these sort of activities, and by we I mean everybody out there, right? So we have to also acknowledge things are changing, and we have to sort of make up our minds to see if at least we take a couple of steps in that direction to adapt to the changing world around us. If I were to give you a parallel apart from cricket, right, there are these operas written by great composers, right? The Der Nibelung, the Ring, right, written by Wagner, is 9 hours long, right? In the 1950s, regularly Indian classical music concerts used to be 5 hours long, 4 hours long, right? Nobody has that kind of time anymore. If you go into the classic music scene, it's all 2 hours, 1.5 hours. People are adapting. Other fields are also adapting. So it's the same concept. It's just that our attention span and our, ability to do multiple things has, has led to this. So I really hope one thing though was, it brings with it its own disadvantages, like more result oriented tests started appearing because people would not last 5 days. The teams would not last 5 days. Therefore, came the talk of 3-day tests or 4-day tests, right? Therefore, there may be some disadvantages as well, but I would mostly wait and watch and hope there are a lot more positives, right, Giri? So we really hope, there is this positive impetus, and we'll see how the 100 plays out, if at all it plays out, given the weather and the current conditions. We don't know when the 100 will be played. So let's really hope and the 100 is played as well. So that was a nice discussion, Giri. Going further, let's look at the trivia section, right? So the trivia question from the previous episode was, when was the last time Saurashtra, under any name, that had won the Ranji Trophy, right? So the answer to this question is an interesting one, right? So Saurashtra last won the Ranji Trophy in 1943-44 as Western India, right? And interestingly, the runners-up also in that year and that season was Bengal. So maybe Bengal has a bit of good luck when it comes to Saurashtra, right? And previously they were known by the name Navanagar, and they had won it previously once more. So this is the third time effectively Saurashtra are winning the Ranji Trophy, and congrats to them. So the trivia question from this episode is, who is an Olympic gold medalist who has also played cricket at the highest level, right? You have to go back a few decades, I'm sure, but the answer is there somewhere in the annals of history. If you are a cricket fan, probably it's a nice thing to dig up. If you already know the answer, we would be very happy to get the answer from you. So can you name an Olympic gold medalist who has played cricket at the international level, at the highest level, right? You can write into us with the answer to this question, either by leaving a comment in whichever podcasting app you use. There are plenty that that are in our episode notes. Outside of this, you could also write into us on Twitter at armchaircricketpod is the address. Also, you could write into us at our email address, which is armchair.cricket@gmail.com, right? Or you could also, leave it as a comment on our Facebook page. So these are all different avenues in which you can get in touch with us to give us the answer to the trivia question, or maybe if you have any suggestions for us, don't hesitate to share them with us. So with some enforced self-quarantining happening everywhere, we hope you have a lot of time to spare. That means you're able to listen to a lot more cricketing podcasts or whichever podcast you like. So if you have not had a chance to listen to our backlog of episodes, so we have a back catalog of about 79 episodes before today's episode. So if you do find some time, I hope you can go back and listen to our different episodes. So that would be a great help to all of us as well. So I do hope you do stay tuned in. So whether there's cricket or not, we plan to do our episodes regularly. So I hope we will have your continued, listenership for our podcast. So thanks a lot. That's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Bye-bye.
Go for it.